What's up, guys? Bua Davis here. We just hit 100 subscribers and I really appreciate that. So I wanted to create some special video and decide to teach you how you can easily make the classic game of Snake in Unity 2D. And if you are a beginner, you will learn a lot of informative new things. And even if you are not, it might be still fun challenge for you. So without further ado, let's get started. And one more thing, if you like this content and want to see more videos like this, please like this one and subscribe to my channel. All right. Now, in this game, we are not going to use any fancy assets. We are going to use Unity's already built-in 2D objects, and it will work fine. And let's go ahead and create our first object. We can do it by clicking in the hierarchy's empty space. We will see 2D object sprites, and we need square, and this square will be our snake. So let's rename it to be snake. You can name it player or anything you want. I will name it snake, and of course we need to add few components in order our snake to be working correctly. So let's click on this add component. We can search here for the rigid body, and you will see two. One is just regular rigid body and second one is 2D one, and we obviously need 2D version because we are working in 2D space. And this rigid body adds some physics sense for our snake, but we don't need our player to have some gravity and to have some forces. So what we can do, we can change this body type from the dynamic to be kinematic. And we also need to add one more thing, and it's collider. So let's add box collider. So search here for box collider 2D and let's add it. And let's change color of the snake to be dark color for a second, because I want to show you something. As you see this green line, this is collider outside our box, and this collider now fits perfectly for our snake. But when our snake will get bigger, you don't have to do it. I'm just showing you something. As you see, our colliders are interacting with each other, and the way our snake game works, when our snake hits his own body, basically he will die. So that's not gonna work for us. I mistakenly delayed my snake. That's not a problem. So let's delete these other two, and we should make our collider a little smaller. We can open this box collider and you will see here size. Let's change it to be 0.75 and 0.75 for the Y as well. And now our collider will work fine. And one more thing we should tick is trigger, because we will need it in our script, and basically every collider of every object that we are going to create will have this is trigger ticked. And we should do it. And right now our snake looks ready, and let's create food for him to eat. So let's go to the object sprites square and let's rename it to be food. And this food, let's make it red, for example. We should add box collider to it as well. So search here for box collider 2D, and we should change size of it to be 0.75 and 0.75 as well. Let's place it something like here. Let's take our snake, resets its size just to make sure that everything looks good and fine. By the way, guys, what I did, I forgot to mention. If you go in the main camera, I changed the background color to be darker color, almost black, because I want my background to be darker. And I also changed the size to be 15, because when I was playtesting, I noticed that 15 works fine for this game. And you obviously can make this number bigger or smaller, or leave it as it is right now, but I will use this 15 and I wanted to say to you. And our food is ready as well. Next thing that we are gonna do, we will create some bounds, some walls, in order our snake to go outside our camera. But before it, I will change color of my snake to be green, actually, because I want my snake to be green. And let's create 2D object, sprite, square again. Let's rename it to be wall. And we can drag this wall here. And we need to add some box collider to it as well. So box collider 2D, tick is trigger. In food, we should tick is trigger as well. And let's resize this box collider to match our boundaries a little better. And let's make, by the way, you can do it by selecting here rect tool. And you can obviously change this from here. And let's drag our wall right here. Let's change color to be, I will change it to be dark gray. You can change it in any color. You can choose any color you want. Just make sure to go here and in the transform, make sure that everything is wall number, because our game will work with the grids, and just not to mess up, we should change everything to wall numbers. So this will be 31. This will be 0. And this we can make 28. We can duplicate this. So click on the Control D and it will duplicate our first wall. And let's drag our second wall right here. You can obviously make your borders as big or as small as you want. I don't want to spend much time doing this styling, but you can do it however you want, and I'm sure you can do it designing better than me, but I just want to show you how you can do it and how everything works. So let's resize this as well, and let's change everything to the whole numbers as well. So 61 and 1, and I think it's not perfect, but it will work. Let's duplicate this one more time, select this move tool, and we can move it down. Let's see, we need to change this to be -13, and we are ready to go. Okay, our environment is ready. We have our snake, our food, and our borders for our player. And now we can go ahead and make our snake to actually move. And for it, we need to create new C# script. And if you don't know how you can make new C# script, you can just click on this assets folder, create C# script, and you can name it anything you want. I already created for us empty scripts here, and I named it snake. It's just empty script right now. Just make sure to drag this script into your game object, which is snake. So let's drag this snake to the snake. The other way you can do it, you can click on the snake and the inspector. You can click on this add component and type here name of your script, snake, and click, and it will add the script into your game object. So let's double click the snake script and let's start working on here. First, we need to declare some variable. Actually, we need only one variable for now, and it will be private vector2, and let's call it direction, and let's make it equal to vector2 dot right. So our snake will have a direction to the right by default. And now in the update, and this update runs every single frame, and we can pass here directions. When we are clicking on the specific keys, our snake will have some specific direction, and we can do it by saying if inputs dot get key down, and in the parentheses we can say key code dot, and I will use WSND. So W, I want my direction to be equal vector2 dot up, and after it we can say else if and do same, input dot get key down and key code dot S, and when I'm clicking S, I want my direction to be vector2 dot down. Obviously, we can basically copy this line and we can paste it twice one here, and let's just change this S to be A and the other one to be D. So here will be S, and when we are clicking A, we want to have vector 2 dot left, and when we are clicking D, we want to have vector 2 dot right. And right now, after it, we can obviously go ahead and make our snake to actually move, and we can do it in the update, but we will do it outside the update. We'll create new method called fixed update, and this fixed update usually handles the movement and physics things pretty better than the actually update. So here we can say that uh, our transform, so this transform dot position, and we can say that it's new vector 3. And what we can do, we can take our position and add our direction, and it will make our snake to actually move. So to do it, we can take our this transform dot position dot x, because this vector 3 needs three axes, x, y, and z. And so for the x, we will say like this, and we will add here direction dot x and comma. We will do same for the y, this transform dot position dot y plus our direction dot y. And for the z, we don't care about z, so we can leave it as a 0f. And one more thing, this will take us, this might give us some decimal numbers, and as I mentioned, we only need whole numbers. So what we can do, we can use simple math here to make everything round and make the numbers whole. And we can say here mathf dot round and wrap from here to here in the parentheses this transform position x, and we can do same here. So mathf dot round, and in parentheses let's put this one, and that's it. That's everything that we need to make our snake move. I hope you understand this. We're just making round, and we are taking our position and adding our directions. Let's save the script, and to save the script you can click on the Control S or Command S if you are on Mac. And let's go back in Unity to see if everything works fine, and then we will continue. So let's press play and see. First of all, we don't need to assign anything, so let's press play and we will see if our snake moves. And indeed our snake can move, and I can change directions by my keyboard. That's exactly what I want. By the way, your snake right now probably moves much faster than me. That's because we do it in the fixed update, and fixed update usually runs in pretty fast pace. So how you can change it, you can go in the edit, and in project settings you can find here time, and fixed time step is where we can change it, and you will have usually 0.02 or something like that by default, and I made it 0.06 for the testing purposes, and I will leave it like this. So you can also do it if you want. You can make this number bigger or smaller if you want to make your snake move faster or slower, obviously, but I will leave it as it is right now. So our snake is ready, and the next thing that we are gonna work on is our food, and I want my food to respawn in different points when we start our game. Every time we start, I want my food to respawn in the different locations, and for it, let's create some kind of boundaries, some kind of area where our food can spawn. And we can click on the empty space in the hierarchy, create empty, and let's call it some grid area. And we don't need to add, actually we will add collider, box collider 2D, and we should make our box collider bigger. So what we can do, we can click on this edit collider and just drag it here and here. I will make it almost as big as my actual border, but not exactly, because I don't want my food to spawn in the corners. So I will leave some kind of room, little room for it. So this green area will be our box where our food can spawn. And right now, what we can do, we can create another script. So create C# script, and I named it food. You can name it anything you want. Just make sure to drag this script into your food, and let's open it in Visual Studio. So double click it and it will open up. First, we need to assign this grid area. We need to get reference to it. So we can say public box collider 2D because we only need his box collider element. And let's call it grid area. And we don't need this start yet. We will create new function. So here we can say void random position. We will call it random position, open curly brackets. And if you go back and if you see this box collider has these bounce elements, which has a lot of information. We don't see everything right now, but basically we will use these bounce elements in our script. So we can say bounce, not bounding spur, bounce will be equal this grid area bounce. And now we can use our grid area's box collider element with the name of bounce. We can say here, basically we need to create some random numbers to be able to respawn our food. We can create new float with the name of x, and float x will be to create random number. You can say random.range, and it creates some range between two numbers, and it needs some minimum and maximum amount as a parameter. So what we can do, we can say bounce minimum min dot x and bounce dot max dot x, and it will take our x elements, our x-axis, and make some random dot range for us. And we should do same for our y. So float y equals random dot range, and here we will say bound dot min dot y and bound dot max dot y. And that's it. It will create for us some random dot range now within our border that we created. And to actually make our food respawn, we can say this transform dot position to be equal to new vector 3. We can say here x, y, and z, but as I mentioned before, we need to make everything whole numbers, and we can use same function mathf.round, and we can say here x. Let's do same for our y. So mathf.round y, and for the z we don't care, so 0f. And let's save this script. Everything will work fine. We just created some range or random range. And if you save this script now, and if you go back in Unity, as you see right now, oh, I forgot something. Actually, we are not calling this random position function anywhere. So let's call it here in the start. So when our game starts, it will be called. So random position. Don't forget parentheses and semicolon. And let's save this script. If we go back in Unity right now, you will see that our red food is near our player. But if I press play right now, you will see that this red food will appear in a different place. Well, it's not appearing because we forgot to assign our grid area. So let's click on the food and let's assign this grid area here. So take this grid area drag it into this slot, and if we press play, everything will work fine. And here we go. Our red dot appears in a different place, and if we press play again, it will appear in a different place once again. Well, it appears almost in the same position, so let's press play to actually make sure that everything works fine. Yes, it's appearing in a different positions, as we see. And the next thing that we are gonna do right now, if we touch our food, nothing is happening again. I want to make our food to appear once again when I touch it with my snake. And let's work on it. We can open this script once again of our food, and after our random position, we can use special method on trigger enter 2D. You can click on the enter and Unity will auto compile. This function is called when we are triggering something, and as I mentioned, every collider here has trigger. That's exactly why we needed that. And we can say here that if collision dot tag double equals to the player with a capital P, what we can do, we can say name random position. So what we are doing when our player, so when something with the tag of player touches our food, he will be respawned in the different this random position function will run, and he will be respawned in a different place. And this tag of player we can assign back in Unity. So just save this script and go back, and if we select our snake, as you see upside in the inspector, it has this tag and layer system, and they are very handy. Basically, we can assign different tags to different game objects, and Unity already has this player tag, so let's use it. Let's assign player to our snake, and right now if we press play and try to touch our food, he will be respawned in a different place, and as you see, it really does. When we touch, it respawns. The next thing that we are gonna do is to make our snake bigger when he eats, because that's the one of the key things of the snake. And right now, when we touch our snake, we can't make our snake bigger, so we should work on it. But for it, we need to create prefab from our snake game object, and prefab is just game object that can be used by script a lot of times, unlimited times. And to create prefab, first we need to duplicate the snake. So let's click on the snake and click on the Control D, and it will duplicate our snake. And let's name it to be snake segment. For example, we can also name it snake prefab or something like that, anything you want. We don't need this rigid body anymore in our snake segment, so let's remove it, and we don't need the script, and let's remove it. Because all the script and movement and everything will be in our head of our snake, and this snake segment we will use to be as a part of our body part of our snake. And we should, to make our prefab, we can drag this game object, this snake segment, into our assets window here, and it will make prefab from it. And as you see, it's now blue, it means we have prefab. And let's open our snake script and let's start working. And we need to declare a few things. We need to create new list of transforms. So you can say private list here, and it will be transforms list. So transform here, and let's call it segments to make everything easier. And we need to create variable for our prefab to assign in the inspector. So public transform, and let's name it segment prefab. And when the game starts, in the start function, we can say that segments is equal new list transform. That's how we can use the segments element right now. Don't forget parentheses and semicolon. And after it, we can use segments.add because we want to add some body parts to our snake, to our snake's head. And we want transform element of that. So we can say this transform right here. And after it, we should scroll down and let's create new function with the name of grow. So we can say private void grow, parentheses, curly brackets. And here we can say that we want to instantiate our prefab. So instantiate this, what we named this segment prefab, I think. Yes, segment prefab. And instantiate basically is just creating prefab into our scene. So we are instantiated. But let's store this information about this instantiate prefab into some transform element to be able to use it again and again. So let's create our transform with a capital T, transform, and let's name it tail, and it will be equal instantiate this segment prefab, and after it we can use our tail dot position, and we can make it segments equals segments, and in the list we can say segments dot count -1 because we want to have last position of our tail of our body parts dot position, and after it we need to add one part. So segments dot add, and we want to add tail because tail has all the information right here. So let's save the script and let's go back in Unity. But before we go back, I forgot to add new one thing in the script. So everything should to work, we need to have on trigger enter 2D once again. So click, it will be auto compiled. And here we can say if collision dot tag double equals, and the name will be food, open curly brackets, and here we will call this grow because we need to call this grow somewhere. And what we have done is that if our player touches something, triggers something with a tag of food, and this tag of food we don't have right now, but we will create very soon when we go back in Unity. And when we touch something with a tag of food, this grow function will be called and everything, our prefab will be instantiated and we can make it, our snake bigger this way. So let's save this script and let's go back in Unity. Let your script compile, and we need to assign one thing. First of all, let's delete our snake segment from our scene because we don't need it. We already have prefab. And let's click on the snake, and in the inspector we can see the snake prefab empty slot, and let's drag our prefab here. And if we should create this food tag as I mentioned, and let's click on the food, and in the tags, as you see, none of these tags, default tags, are gonna work for us. So let's create custom tag. Let's click on this add tag, click on this plus sign, and here we can say food. Let's save it. Let's click this food again in the hierarchy, and we can assign our food now, our food tag to our food. Let's save our scene and let's press play. And as you see, everything will work at least halfway because we will have some problem. And as you see, our prefabs are instantiated here, but the problem is that they are not following us. They are just stuck in one place, but at least they are creating, and we can fix that very easily actually. So let's open our snake script, and in the fixed update where we are doing our movement, we can create one loop, for loop, and we can say for int I will be equal to segments dot count -1 semicolon y, when y is greater than 0 semicolon and y minus minus, and you may notice that we are making everything in the opposite way, and I will explain why very shortly. But first let's write, and I will explain it back in Unity with some visuals, and you will understand it better. So here we can say segments, we can pass here y dot position because we need position of it, and it will be equal to segments y minus 1 dot position and semicolon, and that's it. We can save the script, and let's go back in Unity, and I will show you what I mean and why we are making this in the opposite way, everything opposite way. So if we take our snake and let's zoom in, and let's say that we have 4 parts of our snake. Our snake ate some food and it's now this size, and when this everything will be instantiated, we want to have this last, let's call it tail, last part of our snake to search for the previous part and go there, and this third one will go in the position of the second one, this will go on the position on the first one, and after it this function will be called and head of our snake will move forward, and this way our snake will get bigger. I hope you understand. It's nothing complicated, we just make it. It's just a little bit tricky one and tricky part because we are making everything in the opposite way, but that's how snake works and it's easiest way. So let's save everything and save our scene. Let's start playing and actually see if everything works. And here is our snake, and as you see, when we eat our food respawns and our snake gets bigger. I hope you see that it's indeed getting bigger and bigger, and that's exactly what we want. The next thing that we want to do is to have something that will restart our game. For example, when we pass these borders, or when we touch ourselves, body of our snake, we want everything to restart, and let's work on it. Now it's very simple actually. All we need to do, we can open our script and let's work on it. We need to have this. First of all, let's create. I want to talk about one more thing that we will need into our script, and it's in the file build settings. And here you will see this scenes in build, and here you will have everything that you need to have into your game. And if it's blank right now, you can click on this add open scenes, and it will add this scene of snake. This is current scene. And as you see, it has index. Every scene will have index in this window, and the index of our scene, our current scene, is 0. So let's remember this because we will need it into our script very shortly. And let's open our script and start working. What we can do, we already have this on trigger enter here, and we can say here else if collision dot tag double equals something with a tag of obstacle, and we will create this obstacle. So when our player triggers something with a tag of obstacle, we want to restart our level. And to do it, we need to add one more thing here in the top. We can add using Unity engine scene management, because we are gonna work with scenes, and otherwise Unity won't know what we are doing. And here, when we are touching something with the tag of obstacle, all we have to do is to say scene manager dot load scene, and here we can say 0 because index of our scene, as I showed you, is 0. And that's all we need to make our scene restart. And let's save our script and let's go back in Unity. Only thing that is left is to create the tag, and we need that tag of obstacle for our walls. And click on the wall, and in the tag let's add tag. Click on this plus sign and we should add here obstacle. Just make sure that this name of your tag matches this name that you used here, otherwise it simply won't work. And now we can choose all of our walls and click on this tag and assign our obstacle there. Also, we need to assign tag of obstacle into our body part of our snake, because we want to restart our level when we touch ourselves. So let's click on this snake prefab and let's assign obstacle tag, and let's press play and see if everything works fine. First of all, let's try to make our snake a little bit bigger to see if we are actually restarting. And when we go in the border, as you saw, our game restarts. And let's see if our snake restarts our level when we touch ourselves. And for it we need to make our snake bigger, and I don't know if I'm able to do it because I'm pretty terrible in snake in this game. Maybe I should make our food a little bit bigger. And yeah, it's pretty tricky. Yeah, I'm definitely very bad in this game, but let's try to get a little bit bigger. I think, and yeah, indeed, when we touched ourselves, our game restarts. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you like this content and want to see more game tutorials, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click on the notification bell not to miss any new upcoming videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments down below. Thanks for watching and see you soon.